Well, hello everyone, it's Kari back again with you on the channel to share a cozy little card today. I'm going to be using the Sweater Weather Layered Stencil, which is a wonderful stencil. If you haven't used any of the Miss Ink Stamps layering stencils, oh, you're missing out because I really love these stencils and how they layer up. There are multiple layers for this stencil, and then this one here where you can add different decorations. Today I'm going to use that little heart one, but there's some fall, there's some little bubbles, there's also a snowflake. And then I'm going to use one of these stencils, which will help me place my letters on top. Then I've also got the coffee ring stencil, which I love. I think it is a must-have. And I'm going to use one of these die sets, which has the alphabets in them. Now, these placement stencils or these placement guides help you to put some common words on your cards by lining up those letters just right. So I haven't decided which one I want to use yet, the Eieio frame die alphabet or the modern typeset frame die alphabet. You might be able to guess if you have been watching my videos for any length of time. You might be able to guess which one I choose. Oh, but I wanted to show you that these layering stencils also have numbers in the upper right-hand corner, so it's really easy to figure out which one goes where. And I've chosen a bunch of pinks and reds for my colors today because I've got Valentine's cards on my mind. I'm going to use the MISTI with my grip mat inside to help me line up all of these stencils perfectly. If you don't have a MISTI or a grip mat, then Miss Ink Stamps also has a placement stencil, which is like a little L-shaped stencil you can use to line these up perfectly. So in order to get my paper on in the spot that I want, you can see I just lined it up with one of those stencils to make sure it was kind of centered. And then my paper sticks to that grip mat. And I place each of the stencils in the corner and layer them up, and that way I get them all in the right placement to create this card. I started out with some antique linen for the hot cocoa or the coffee, whatever you want it to be. I'm going to end up darkening that up later. And now I'm going to start with a light pink ink here, and I'm going to ink on this second layer. This has the fingernails and the sweater base, and also a first little part of that coffee cup. And so all of these can be the same color, but if you want them to be different, you can also do them different colors. I'm going to add some darker shades to the fingernails to kind of match my fingernails today. And so I'm coming in with that sparkling berry to darken those up, just like so. And then I'm also going to darken up the inner part of the sweater just below the coffee cup, just to darken that up as well. So here's what it looks like so far. Now we're going to add this layer here, which makes the little knit lines in the sweater, and it adds a darker ring around the coffee cup on the upper right-hand corner, including the handle. And so this creates some dimension for you. It's beautiful. So I just added all of that beautiful sparkling berry, which is a darker pink color for my Valentine. Look at that. Now the next layer is the hands, and I was trying to figure out what color could I use for these hands. I have this peachy color, but it was too orangish looking, so I decided to start with my antique linen, or this is actually the tea dye color, and it kind of blended in with with the hot cocoa. So I'm going to darken that up, and then I'm going to come in with a little bit of the antique linen, and that will create the lines on the hands for the details here. See that? You can see that a little bit. There's a lot of sunlight pouring in. So now I'm going to go back with this first one with some vintage photo, darken up that cocoa for me, and this is going to work a little bit better for the contrast. So there we go, just adding that in. And now it's time to add a little decoration on top. I'm going to use this heart here, like I said. I wish I would have gone with the bubbles in the center, because you'll see when I add the sentiment, it kind of hides that heart just a little bit. But before we do that, I'm going to take some light pink ink. This is the Sponge Sugar Distress ink, and I'm going to add some of these coffee rings. Now this is a must-have stencil in my opinion. It can add some designs when you have too much white space. It can add a little bit of interest in the background. It's really great. There are lots of different shapes of rings and designs, and also some splotch marks, so you can add some extra decoration. Now I did not want to mask off the hands and the coffee cup, so I'm just being very careful here as I place my stencil to not get it over the design that we've already stenciled on. And then I got smart and put my little distress ink on my grip mat and it held that little ink pad in place for me so I could get some ink and just add it on very easily. I have never done that before. I know, it's a surprise, but it worked really well. So I loved that. And now I'm just going to finish up adding the last of the rings all around the edges here. And I'm going to add a little bit of splotches as well. In the video, I know this is coming off really light. In person, it's a little bit darker. The video and the lighting always washes out just a little bit of the colors that I'm using. So just so you can see this a little better in real life. But I love that little extra design feature there. Now it's time to add that heart, and I decided to go with a little frothy heart. So I'm bringing in my white ink here. This is a pigment ink, so this is going to sit right on the top. And I'm just dabbing this on. I'm not blending it or using a circular motion. I'm dabbing it on just very lightly so that I get a really good heart look. Look at that. So nice and bright. So for the sentiment, I'm going to use Love You, and now it's time to make a decision. And so I'm going to bring both of those stencils in. If I use this one, I could put it right over that hot cocoa. If I use this one, it would probably go right over the top there. And of course, I decided on the modern Typeset. So that, I mean, it might not be a surprise to you. So I've got some hot pink cardstock, and I'm going to add some sticky to the back of this. This is some double adhesive here. So as I add this adhesive, I'll be able to pull that backer off and use the cardstock like stickers. So it's important to have some non-stick scissors to cut this. Believe me, the non-stick scissors are like a lifesaver. And these are my very favorite scissors that I use for practically everything, but they don't stick. And so it's really easy to cut off that excess. And I'll put the stencil right over the top, tape that in, and now I can use this placement guide stencil beautifully to add those little stickers right inside. I'm not pressing too hard down on these letters right now because I wanted to make sure I was going to love this before I committed. I know, I mean, if you're a card maker like me, you make lots of changes and lots of decisions in the process of making a card. And so I just wanted to make sure I would love it. And of course I did. Now with this Y, it's interesting because this set has two different Ys to choose from. A really fancy one like this one, and there's also a less fancy Y that you could use. You would just have to place that without using the stencil. I, of course, like all these flourishes, so I added that Y, and I had to cut out an extra O. So I just used some of the scraps of the adhesive on a scrap of the same colored cardstock and cut out another O there to add there. And now we can pull off the stencil and make sure that we love it. And of course I did love it. So I'm going to press those down, and what's going to help also is by using a frame die, I'll run this through my die cut machine with this scalloped frame die, and this is from the Eieio frame set right here. This one, this die is what I'm going to use, and when I cut this out and run it through my die cut machine, it's going to actually stick those letters down even better. So I used a frame of that same hot pink cardstock, and now I've got some pink little pearls here. They are kind of metallic looking pink or iridescent, and so they match the fingernails really well. So I use those as a little dimensional aspect on my card. And now I'm going to put this on the card base. I recently just refilled my card bases. They are pre-cut and pre-scored. I love them so much because when you make a lot of cards, it's so nice to have them already done for you. I just have to fold them. Then I add my card panel to the card base, and there's our card for today. I love it. I hope you love it too. It's really fun with these stencils to create just a beautiful, easy to put together layered look on your cards. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I've also linked and put everything in the description for you to take a look at. I'll be back soon with more cards to share. Happy crafting and Happy New Year!